Good evening. They need us. Many people thought that this time will not come. They thought it is a myth, but it is not. Climate change is real and they need us. Look everywhere, from the mountains down to the oceans. Animals are crying and begging us to stop focusing on the development itself without giving them importance. Climate change has become a concern of scientists rather recently. There are numerous theories as to the reasons for this process, but there are still no particular answers. Some researchers believe that this is a natural process and there can be done anything, while others stress that people's activities harm the environment and contribute greatly to climate change. What scientists know is that climate change has an impact on the development of the planet and human society. More so, it is also acknowledged that it affects people's health and can lead to a variety of catastrophic consequences. Admittedly, people have tried to develop numerous strategies to solve this issue, but it is important to note that the problem is closely connected with the depletion of the ozone layer. This is the layer in the planet's atmosphere containing the relatively high concentrations of ozone. The ozone layer is from approximately 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. This layer is a shield protecting all organisms living on the planet from solar radiation. However, this shield is being damaged by numerous harmful emissions, and hence, solar radiation has the strongest negative effect on the Earth and its inhabitants rather. Some of them state that there are different natural causes for that process. One of these causes is the volcano eruption, as it has been proven that large explosive volcano eruptions have a significant effect on the balance of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and global temperatures. Now, let us talk about our own country, the Philippines. Philippines is the third most vulnerable country to climate change, according to the 2017 World Risk Report. Impacts of climate change in the Philippines are immense, including annual losses in GDP, changes in rainfall patterns and distributions, droughts, threats to biodiversity and food security, sea level rise, public health risks, and endangerment of vulnerable groups such as women and indigenous people. Based on a study by the Asian Development Bank on the economics of climate change, the country stands to lose 6% of its GDP annually by 2100 if it disregards climate change risks. This same study found that if the Philippines invests 0.5% of its GDP by 2020 in climate change adaptation, it can avert losses of up to 4% of its GDP by 2100. Clearly, a short-term investment with a long-term eightfold gain. Approximately 1 million hectares of grasslands in the Philippines are highly vulnerable to climate change in the future. Most grasslands in the uplands are prone to fires, particularly during extended periods of dryness and lack of rainfall during summer. The highest concentration of deforestation has occurred in areas around Rojas Arceli, Puerto Princesa, and Batarasa, according to Malyari. Magliari and his research group also studied forest cover change within the Puerto Princesa Underground River National Park. Threats to natural ecosystems. What are those? Coral loss, declining rice yields, more intense droughts, higher sea level rise, and water scarcity. Climate change is one of the most fundamental challenges ever to confront humanity. Its adverse impacts are already being seen and may intensify exponentially over time if nothing is done to reduce further emissions of greenhouse gases. Decisively dealing now with climate change is key to ensuring sustainable development, proper poverty eradication, and safeguarding economic growth. Scientific assessments indicate that the cost of inaction now will be more costly in the future. Thus, economic development needs to be shifted to a low carbon emission path rather. The Philippine Green Jobs Act of 2016, or Republic Act 10771, aims to foster low carbon, resilient sustainable growth and decent job creation by providing incentives to businesses that generate green jobs. It defines green jobs as those that help to protect ecosystems and biodiversity, reduce energy, materials, and water consumption through high efficiency strategies, decarbonize the economy, and minimize or eliminate the generation of all forms of waste and pollution. Did you know that we have a law about the climate change? In 2012, the Climate Change Act was amended by Republic Act 10174, establishing the People's Survival Fund, or PSF, to provide long-term climate financing for local government units and people's organizations' climate adoption initiatives. The PSF was given 1 billion pesos to be replenished annually. I know that our government doing their best about this issue and are working on it. Now that we are in an election period, I am hoping and praying to those who are elected to be open-minded about this issue. It is not only about corruption and crimes anymore. Our environment slowly changing, not for the better, but it is changing for the worst. The Philippines' future is currently uncertain. The country faces grave challenges in the form of threats to its environment, industries, and the lives and livelihoods of its people. Both the Filipino government and government abroad will need to coordinate their efforts to combat the climate change and the climate crisis through the reduction of emissions and the promotion of renewable energy sources. The best way we can do is to educate ourselves on how best to face these challenges. While it does seem at times that we can do little as individual, if we arm ourselves with knowledge of the science behind climate change and its effects on people and the environment, we can start to take steps toward positive change and influence others to do the same. Again, there is no definite answers regarding this issue. Actually, we are given the solutions, but we are just read it without giving an action. Even now, you can easily search it in Google. You can find some of the answers. Answers can be control the use of fossil fuels, stop deforestation, save energy, go green ways to stop climate change, recycle the waste, push yourself for the conservation of climate. Those are some of the answers you can find in Google. Who else can candid this action. Those animals that are losing their inhabitants, those mountains that are losing their trees and are deformed because of the numerous illegal mining, those seas and oceans who are naturally full of sea creatures that are now full of our sea garbage. Yes, maybe they can, but even if they are restoring what we have done, if we people who have minds and can give action, perform the action, are still not cooperating, it will not be enough and will never be enough. They need us, and they need our action. Not later, not tomorrow, nor in the future. Our action must start now, before it's too late. Our future is in our hands. Do not hope for the better future unless you are destroying our present. Have you heard the song by Freddie Aguilar, Masdan Mo Ang Kapaligiran? Its lyrics states, hindi masama ang pag-unlad kung hindi ito nakakasira ng ating kalikasan. And also, have you heard the Earth song by Lil Dicky? Come on everybody, I know we're not all the same, but we are living on the same earth. Our status, our life status may be different, just like our language and expertise, but we are living in the same earth, and they need us now. Mountains, sea, oceans, animals, our Mother Earth need us now. They need our action. Open your eyes. If you want to help, start with yourselves or start at your individual home. It may be little, but those little things, when collide, it will be great and have a big impact. As a student and a Marianista, I am happy and proud to say that I am starting making a difference by recycling and following the proper waste disposal. To my listeners, let us help each other. It will be unfair for our environment to be left behind with our so-called development and success. I am Judy May Angko from BSA 2. Thank you, Google, for the information. Together, let us nurture the nature so that we can have a better future. Good evening.